I want to tell you a story. A story about a man who had $7 in his pocket and nowhere to go. A man who was cut from his football team, evicted from his apartment, and so depressed that he did not know if he could go on. A man who turned his pain into fuel and became one of the biggest stars the world has ever seen. And today, that man is worth hundreds of millions of dollars, has been in some of the highest-grossing films in history, and is loved by people all around the globe. His name is Dwayne Johnson. The world knows him as The Rock. And his story will change how you think about failure, about starting over, and about what happens when you refuse to feel sorry for yourself. Chapter 1. The Boy with No Home. Dwayne Johnson was born on May 2, 1972 in Hayward, California. His father, Rocky Johnson, was a professional wrestler. His mother, Ata Maivia, came from a legendary Samoan wrestling family. Her father, Peter Maivia, was one of the most respected wrestlers in the Pacific Islands. From the outside, it might sound like Dwayne was born into greatness, but the reality was very different. His family had almost no money. His father was on the road most of the year, traveling from city to city for wrestling matches, earning just enough to keep the lights on. His mother held the family together alone for weeks at a time. They moved constantly. By the time Dwayne was 13 years old, he had lived in 13 different states. New schools, new neighborhoods, new faces. He was always the new kid, always the outsider. He never had the chance to build lasting friendships or feel like he belonged anywhere. He has said in interviews that he used to walk into a new school and immediately scan the room to figure out who the toughest kid was, not because he wanted to fight, because he needed to know who he had to be ready for. That is what survival looks like when you are a child. When he was 14, he came home from school one day and found a padlock on the door of their apartment in Hawaii. They had been evicted. His mother sat in the car and cried. Dwayne stood there, staring at that lock, and something inside him changed. He did not cry. He did not say a word. He just stood there and let the feeling burn into him. Years later, he said that moment was the most important moment of his childhood, not because of what it took from him, but because of what it gave him. It gave him a promise. He decided that he would never be in that position again. He would never let his family feel that kind of helplessness again. And he meant it.
Chapter 2. The Troubled Teenager. Dwayne did not handle his anger well. He got into trouble constantly. He was arrested multiple times before he was 17, for theft, for fighting, for things he later said he was deeply ashamed of. He has said that by the time he was 16, he had been arrested 8 or 9 times. The police knew his name. He was big for his age, really big. By the time he was 15, he was 6 feet 4 and over 200 pounds. Other students thought he was a teacher on his first day at a new school. But inside that massive body was a teenager full of rage that had nowhere to go. He was not a bad person. He was a hurt person, and hurt people often make terrible decisions. His mother watched him spiral. She had already been through so much, the constant moving, the money problems, raising a son mostly on her own while her husband traveled, and now her boy was heading toward prison. She did not know what to do. But there was one thing that kept pulling Dwayne back from the edge: football. On the football field, his size and his anger became strengths. He could hit harder than anyone. He could run through defenders like they were not there. He could dominate. And for the first time in his life, people noticed him for something positive. Coaches praised him. Teammates respected him. The field was the only place where he felt like he mattered. A football coach named Jody Quick saw his potential. He did not just see a big, angry kid. He saw someone who could be great if he had direction. Quick pushed him, disciplined him, believed in him, and he helped Dwayne get a full scholarship to the University of Miami, one of the top football programs in the entire country. It was his ticket out, and Dwayne grabbed it with both hands. Chapter 3. The Dream That Died. Dwayne arrived at the University of Miami with one dream: to play in the NFL. He was going to be a professional football player. That was the plan. That was the only plan. He did not have a backup. He didn't think he needed one. The University of Miami was a powerhouse. His teammates were some of the best players in the country. Many of them would go on to play in the NFL. Dwayne trained alongside future legends like Warren Sapp and Ray Lewis. He saw how good they were, and he pushed himself to keep up. He worked hard. He trained every day. He pushed his body to the limit, but injuries kept slowing him down. He tore muscles, he hurt his back, he hurt his shoulder, he missed games. And while he was recovering on the sideline, other players took his spot. Younger, faster, healthier players who were hungry for the same dream. By his senior year, he was no longer a starter. He sat on the bench and watched his teammates play the game he loved. He watched Warren Sapp get drafted. He watched Ray Lewis get drafted. One by one, the guys he had trained with every single day heard their names called. And when the NFL draft came, Dwayne Johnson's name was not called. Not in the first round, not in the second, not in any round. Nobody wanted him. He refused to give up on football completely. He signed with the Calgary Stampeders in the Canadian Football League instead. It was not his dream, but it was football. He packed everything he owned into a small bag and flew to Canada. He told himself this was just a detour. He would prove himself here and get back to the NFL. 2 months later, he was cut from the team. They gave him nothing but a plane ticket home. He flew back to the United States with nothing. No football career, no backup plan, no money. He moved back in with his parents. He was 23 years old, and the only dream he had ever had was gone. The thing he had built his entire identity around had been taken from him, and he had no idea who he was without it.
Chapter 4. $7. This is the moment that defines Dwayne Johnson's story, and it starts in the darkest place he has ever been. After being cut from football, he fell into a deep depression. He has talked about this openly many times. He did not want to get out of bed. He did not want to talk to anyone. He did not want to eat. He would lie there and stare at the ceiling and replay every single moment where things went wrong. The injuries, the missed games, the draft day silence, all of it on repeat in his head. He was living in his parents' small apartment. He had no job, no income, no direction. He felt like a complete failure. He felt like he had let everyone down. His mother, his father, himself. He checked his wallet one day and found $7. That was everything he had in the world. $7. Not 700, not 70, 7. He has said that he sat in his room and stared at that money for a long time. He let the weight of it hit him. 23 years old, no career, no future, $7. And then something shifted. He made a decision, not a big, dramatic, movie-style decision, a quiet one. He said to himself, I can stay here and feel sorry for myself, or I can go to work. He chose work. He went to his father and asked him to train him as a professional wrestler. His father, Rocky Johnson, did not jump at the idea. He was reluctant. He knew how brutal the wrestling business was. He had lived it. The broken bones, the lonely roads, the low pay, the politics. He had seen wrestlers lose everything. He did not want that for his son. But Dwayne would not take no for an answer. He begged, he insisted. He told his father that he had nothing left to lose, and eventually Rocky agreed. He started training his son in the gym, teaching him the moves, the psychology of wrestling, the art of telling a story with your body. Dwayne trained like his life depended on it, because in his mind it did. Chapter 5.
the people's champion. Dwayne started wrestling in small venues for almost no money, tiny gymnasiums, half-empty halls, county fairs. He earned $40 a match at the beginning, sometimes less. He slept in his car between shows because he could not afford a motel room. He drove hundreds of miles through the night to make it to the next venue on time. Nobody cared who he was. The crowds were small, the pay was terrible, but he showed up every single time. He never missed a match. He never complained. He just kept working. Eventually, the WWE gave him a chance. His first character was called Rocky Maivia, a combination of his father's and grandfather's ring names. The company wanted to present him as a smiling, happy, good guy, a hero the fans would love. The fans hated it. They booed him loudly. They chanted, "Rocky sucks," and "Die, Rocky, die." They held up signs mocking him. Every time he walked into the arena, he heard the boos, week after week. It was humiliating. He was doing exactly what the company told him to do, and the audience despised him for it. Most people would have quit, or at least gotten angry. But Dwayne did something brilliant. He listened. Instead of fighting the boos, he paid attention to them. He studied what the audience responded to. He noticed that they loved confidence. They loved attitude. They loved someone who was not afraid to be bold and funny and a little dangerous. So he transformed himself. He stopped being Rocky Maivia. He became The Rock. He changed everything: his voice, his posture, his attitude. He talked to the camera like nobody else could. He was sharp, quick, fearless. He created catchphrases that millions of people repeated in their homes, their schools, their workplaces. "Can you smell what The Rock is cooking?" became one of the most famous lines in entertainment history. The same fans who had booed him were now screaming his name. Within a few years, he became the biggest star in professional wrestling. He was selling out arenas all over the world. He was not just a wrestler anymore. He was the people's champion.
Chapter 6. The Leap to Hollywood. At the peak of his wrestling career, when he was the most popular performer in the world, Dwayne made a decision that shocked everyone. He wanted to become a movie star. People laughed, not just fans, people inside the wrestling industry, people inside Hollywood. Wrestlers do not become serious actors, they said. It had been tried before. Hulk Hogan had tried. Others had tried. It never worked. Wrestling was entertainment, not real acting. Hollywood did not take wrestlers seriously. They never had. But Dwayne did not care what they thought. He had heard people laugh at him before, when he was a kid with no home, when he was a teenager getting arrested, when he was Rocky Maivia getting booed out of arenas. Laughter was not new to him. It had never stopped him before. His first few films were not huge successes. Critics dismissed him. They said he was just a big guy with muscles who could not really act. People told him to go back to wrestling where he belonged. But Dwayne kept showing up. He took every role he could get. He studied acting. He worked with coaches. He watched other actors and learned from them. He treated every single film set like a classroom. And slowly, things began to change. He starred in The Scorpion King. Then came Walking Tall. Then The Game Plan. People started noticing that he was not just big. He was charming. He was funny. He had something that the camera loved. Then came the Fast and Furious franchise, where he became one of the biggest draws in the entire series. Audiences loved him. Studios wanted him in everything. Then Jumanji, which made nearly $1 billion. Then every major blockbuster seemed to have his name on it. By 2018, he was the highest-paid actor in Hollywood. Forbes put his earnings at over $120 million in a single year. The man who had $7 in his pocket was now earning more per film than most people earn in a lifetime. Chapter 7. The Man Behind the Muscle.
What makes Dwayne Johnson truly remarkable is not his muscles or his movies. It is his character. It is the kind of man he chose to become after he had every reason to become bitter. He has been open about his struggles with depression, not once, many times. He has talked publicly about crying, about feeling lost, about not knowing if he could go on. He has shared these stories on social media to millions of followers. In a world that often tells men to hide their pain, to be tough, to never show weakness, Dwayne Johnson chose honesty. He said, "Depression does not care how much money you have. It does not care how famous you are. It can hit anyone." And millions of people connected with him because of it. Not because he was strong, because he was honest. His work ethic is legendary. He wakes up before 4 in the morning every single day. He's in the gym by 4:30, training while most of the world is still asleep. He calls it the anchor of his day. No matter what else happens, no matter how busy his schedule is, the workout comes first. It's the one thing he never skips. He works longer hours than almost anyone in Hollywood. He runs multiple businesses. He produces films. He manages a tequila brand that became one of the fastest-growing spirit brands in history. And through it all, he still stops to take photos with every single fan who asks. Everyone, no matter how tired he is, no matter how long the line is. He remembers what it felt like to have nothing, and he has never let success make him forget where he came from.
Chapter 8. Why this story matters to you. So why does this story matter to you? Because right now, you might be looking at your own version of $7. You might have just lost the thing you worked hardest for. You might be hearing people tell you that your next dream is impossible. You might be sitting in your own version of that car, staring at a locked door, wondering what comes next. Let me ask you something. Have you ever felt like a complete failure? Have you ever had a plan fall apart so completely that you did not know what to do next? Have you ever been told that people like you do not get to do what you want to do? If you said yes, then you are standing exactly where Dwayne Johnson stood. And look at what he built from there. Here's what I need you to understand. You are not defined by what you lost. You are defined by what you do next. Dwayne Johnson lost his football career, his money, and his sense of purpose. And from that emptiness, he built an empire. So what can you do right now? First, stop comparing your chapter 1 to someone else's chapter 20. Everyone starts somewhere. Dwayne started with $7. Where you are right now is not where you will always be. Second, find your work. Not your dream job, not the perfect opportunity, just work. Any work that moves you forward. Dwayne did not start at the top of wrestling. He started in empty gyms and half-filled arenas. Start where you are. Third, be honest about your pain. Do not hide it. Do not pretend everything is fine when it isn't. Dwayne Johnson, one of the strongest men alive, has talked about crying and feeling lost. If he can be that honest, so can you. Your pain does not make you weak. Hiding it does. What is your $7 moment? What is the point where you decided to stop feeling sorry for yourself and start building? That moment is waiting for you. Maybe it's right now. Chapter 9. It is your move. Dwayne Johnson was not born into success. He was born into chaos. He moved 13 times before he was a teenager. He was arrested. He was evicted. He was cut from football. He was booed by wrestling fans. He was laughed at by Hollywood. But he never stayed down. Every single time life knocked him to the ground, he got back up and said, "Okay, what is next?" That is not talent, that is not luck, that is a choice he made over and over and over again, and it's a choice you can make too. You don't need the perfect start. You don't need everyone to believe in you. You don't even need to believe in yourself completely. You just need to take one step, then another, then another.
Dwayne Johnson went from $7 and a broken dream to becoming one of the most successful and beloved people on the planet, not because he was special, because he refused to stop. And so can you. Your story is not over. The best chapters have not been written yet. I'll see you in the next video.